hearing about, the views of residents, of people who object, if indeed they do object.
And welcome to First Local, the show that brings you a closer look at your community. I'm Jackie Thompson.
And I'm Scott Thomas. Jackie, have you ever heard the old expression, a Starbucks on every corner?
I have.
You know,
you have to be in a big city for that.
It used to be a joke in, television shows and whatnot that when cities got too big, there was a Starbucks, every second store was a Starbucks. Well, St. John now has a Starbucks, and even though you should also support local businesses, it is a sign that St. John is really kind of on the grow.
That's right.
But with growth comes issues and problems.
That's right. And with all the big boom, with all the new job opportunities and all the new businesses going up, there's still always a controversial subject of, low-income housing. Where are people that can't afford homes going to be?
Well, recently there was a project put forward by a group here in the city. And while some see it as a good idea, a large amount of other people see it as a controversial idea. And they came out en masse to a community meeting that was held recently. Our own Nelson Hum was there, and he files this report.
A low-income housing project that would see 55 subsidized units built on 185 Carmarthen Street is attracting quite the controversy. The issue dominated a recent ward meeting hosted by Councilor Killen and Donnie Snook. Resident Howard LaBillois is a South End resident who is opposed to the project.
It's such a major project that impacts not only people who would be living in this warehouse, this poverty warehouse that they're going to create, but all the residents that are in that area.
A lot of discussion around housing, and that segregation doesn't work. We see that.
None of the residents in the NB housing or in apartments or in St. John public housing knew what was going on because no one was consulting them. So we actually went door to door. Now, what do we have to do? We have to keep it up.
He says Councilor Killen, who serves on both the Parking Commission and the Planning Advisory Committee, which facilitated the proposal, is at a conflict of interest.
Can't be the seller and also the guarantor in government. And it's not right, especially when it's going to impact so many people. Not only the people who are going to be living in substandard conditions in which there's not even a bathtub within the facility, but it's going to impact all the citizens.
Responding to the charge, Councillor Killen says there is no such conflict.
I'm not swayed by being on parking to make judgments that are favorable to parking. I'm not, being on the Planning Advisory Committee, how can I be swayed by anybody? I mean, I'm receiving recommendations from planning. I'm hearing about, the views of residents, of people who object, if indeed they do object. And then my voice is but one among a group.
He says while the planning department went by the book, the municipal plan could do a better job of informing neighborhoods of new developments.
There will be a disconnect for as long as the municipal plan that we have remains in the shape that it's in. The policy doesn't recognize, or it doesn't have any human element that takes a look to try and define what the neighborhood really is. Maybe some neighborhoods are only 2 or 3 blocks. But a neighborhood like the South End spreads across blocks and squares and playgrounds and everything else to include the people that consider that to be their neighborhood.
Killen believes there is also a lot of misinformation on the project.
I've sought information. I've been seeking information. I hope that we'll have an opportunity for neighbors to have more information. I'm going to try and get some more information tomorrow. And my quest is to be informed, and my commitment is to try and make sure that whatever information I do have is shared with the constituents that I represent.
LaBillois says despite their opposition, the neighborhood is not against low-income housing.
There is low-income housing. On our block, on that block, we have St. John public housing units. We have 8. We have a large NB housing unit and a Habitat for Humanity house that's just going up. We would love that lot to be developed as a low-income housing, and make it mixed. Make sure that there's families are there. It's 2 blocks within a school. There's 2 blocks away from a playground, which they want to put $2 million into. It should be families, not people, not individuals who are not going to be allowed to have full-time jobs, because if they did, they'd be kicked out. They'd be earning too much money, even at minimum wage. So what they're building is a poverty institution. They're warehousing poverty for profit and for land, and that's not good enough.
Members of the neighborhood plan to make several formal appeals before the project moves forward. In St. John, for First Local, I'm Nelson Hum.